while we're going to have some new starters in the Big Ten this season, one of the things that impressed me is the caliber of quarterback play that you're going to see in the Big Ten and really across college football if you take it into account what the ACC is doing, what the Big 12 is doing, what the SEC has done. Everybody claims to have a quarterback-driven league, and that is true because it's a sport that is driven by quarterbacks. But while we're going to see some new faces in the Big Ten, say Will Howard at Ohio State, Tyler Van Dyke at Wisconsin, even a Will Rogers at Washington, I'm looking at the brand new starters, or presumptive starters, to the 2024 season, and I come to Dylan Raiola and Alex Orji. Now, I think that there's still something like a competition going on at Michigan, with the two Jadens bringing up the rear, Jack Tuttle being right there, Davis Warren being right there. I know that Alex Orji is the guy that many people expect to see because he's getting the J.J. McCarthy treatment. J.J. McCarthy made some really great plays a few years back in the Orange Bowl. People were wondering when he was going to be the starter. And Sharon Moore did for Alex what he did for J.J., which is get him some real live reps and opportunities in pivotal games. And you can see the tools, right? He is physically gifted as a quarterback. I think the fair comp is not necessarily Jalen Milroe, but more Jalen Hurts, especially in the kind of offense that I expect Kirk Campbell to run, which should look a lot like the offense that they ran the last few years with Sharon Moore calling plays as one guy moves to head coach, one guy moves to OC and quarterback. But while nothing is given, you can understand folks are excited about Alex Orji in Ann Arbor. I'm excited to see him play too. I think he's got all the tools to go be great. The same thing is true of Dylan Raiola at Nebraska. A lot of things come to mind about Raiola. First, his recruitment, which was a wild ride, where he was at one point committed to Ohio State and Georgia before ending up at Nebraska. His father, whose alma mater is also Nebraska, Dominic Raiola. But he is the highest rated recruit that they have got at the quarterback position, period. And he's got all the tools that you want as a pocket passer. Like, I think the comp for him is Matthew Stafford, a guy with a really big arm who perhaps holds the ball just a little too long. Now, he only threw one interception in his senior season, even though he threw the ball about 250 times, but he took some sacks at times when he probably shouldn't. Just get rid of the football. I think with Glenn Thomas coming in, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch his development. Glenn Thomas is former quarterbacks coach for the Atlanta Falcons. The last 3 years he spent with Matt Ryan, among others, and he's been on Matt Rule's staff before. Mark Satterfield is going to be calling the plays once again. But between both of these guys, I wonder who the pressure is on the most. I think both of them will feel an equal amount of pressure for totally different reasons, right? If you are Michigan and you're Alex Orji, your task is to keep going. Your task is to turn 15-0 into 16-0. Your task is to remind people that you have won the Big Ten championship in each of the last 3 years. Your task is to remind folks that you are a college football playoff team, even though Jim Harbaugh is no longer there, and we will continue to say it because it is still important, that this is Sharon Moore's first opportunity to be a head coach, and he is doing it in one of the biggest programs in all of sports, let alone college football, and he's having to replace the defensive staff as an offensive guy, which means he's also going to have his eyes all over, and he's got to trust a brand new starter, okay? A guy that he knows well and a guy he helped recruit. But still, a brand new starter. We don't know what Alex Orji is going to do over the course of an entire season, but what we have seen, we like. On the other hand, with Dylan Raiola, you are tasked with bringing back respect to a program that was not just respected, but feared and dominated not 20 years ago. I mean, it's not that long ago before we saw Ndamukong Suh coming along, and before that, Eric Crouch, and before that, Tommy Frazier. Ahman Green comes to my mind when we're talking about the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I also love while people are talking about Matt Rule in year 2. We've talked about it. We will talk about it. Year 2 for Matt Rule is the year you go bowling, whether it's Temple or Baylor, Nebraska. And they should have gone bowling in year 1 if we're being honest about this, right? They were at 5 wins with 4 games left to play, and they couldn't finish. This season, they ought to get off to a really good start because the schedule stacks up just that way. They could be 5-1 by the time they get to their bye week. They only have 1 road game through the first half of the season, and they can get everybody's attention with a tremendous win against Colorado, which is going to be a game that is nationally televised that a lot of people are going to watch because the interest in Coach Prime and Colorado is at an all-time high. Same thing with Nebraska in that their fan base is robust and they do want a winner. And when this dude decided to flip his commitment and join the Huskers, it was already kind of in our minds that he's penciled in as the day one guy. A lot of expectation to put on a true freshman. I'm not sure that people are going to give him enough time to mature, because I've said this before, but true freshman quarterbacks who go on to lead teams to great seasons end up being all-timers, guys we talk about forever. The last one that I can think of is Trevor Lawrence, right, who comes in to replace Kelly Bryant and leads Clemson to a 15-0 season and a national championship. Only Jamel Holloway at quarterback has done that as a true freshman. There have been other true freshmen that have been pivotal to what that national title program has been, say Maurice Clarett at Ohio State. But to do it the way that Lawrence did it, the way that Jamel Holloway did it, was also to do it on teams that are stacked. Same thing with Ohio State. And I don't think anybody's expecting Nebraska to compete for a Big 12, see, that's where I'm at, for a Big 10 championship. I do think they expect Nebraska to win 6, 7, even 8 games this year. And if Raiola is the guy that is leading the team to do that, there's every reason to believe that they will be able to compete at a very high level in 2025. And then we could start talking about them the way that we might talk about Iowa, the way that we might sometimes talk about Maryland, the way that we feel good about Rutgers this year, right? It's not necessarily that they're going to win the Big Ten title. It's that they're into that next level, right? They're into that middle tier. And right now, you take a look at the Big Ten preseason media poll. I understand some of y'all say the media, like the media is one person. I'm media, dude. Like, be specific when you're talking about people are pumping this dude up or pumping that dude up. Call people out by name. It's okay. You know, that's the job. That's what we do. But don't be out here talking about the media. Anyway, the media poll has Nebraska at number 8. For perspective there, SEC media rated Oklahoma at number 8. I don't understand that part on either front, right? I think you look at what Nebraska did last year, it's difficult to see them being better than, say, Washington will be this year. I think they'll be about the same and on par. Michigan State's going to have something to say about this. Minnesota is going to try to figure something out with, I think, one of the best-kept secrets in graduate transfer news in Max Brosmer. I just want to know that Dylan Raiola can take care of the football, because Nebraska was horrible taking care of the football last year. -17 in turnover margin. That is second from last. It was them and Temple. Temple was at -20. They were awful. You take care of the football this year, you let Tony White's defense do what it does, and you're probably going to win more games than you think. And if we're going to put the over-under at 6, I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take the over on Nebraska. Meanwhile, I'm looking at Alex Orji. I want to see what you do against Texas. That's going to tell me as much as anything can tell me through September. And for the first time in a long time, we get to watch a Michigan team play a non-conference opponent in September that is worth a damn. Another college football playoff team from last year, and a Texas team that is much more continuous than Michigan, because Steve Sarkisian he's loud about it. Look, I've had my same coordinator for 4 years, and he's got a returning starter at quarterback, and he's got in place all the pieces he needs to make a national title run, not unlike what Michigan had in 2023, but also what Georgia had as it was beginning to go on its tear, and when Kirby Smart it figured out. So I think I'm going to put a lot of pressure on Alex Orji to start the season, right? I think that's the answer to the question. What you're going to do against Texas, and then we'll see. Whereas with Dylan Raiola, let's see if you can get this team to win number 6. And we're not going to have the answer to that question at a bare minimum until the middle of October to late November. So we'll see what that looks like. But I'm excited about both of these guys. They're both super talented. They both got huge arms. They both got tremendous athletic ability. And they deserve all the attention that we're giving them.